Nevada voters legalized cannabis in 2016, but federal hurdles remain for the industry.
News 3's Brett Forrest joins us now live from downtown. And Brett, federal banking restrictions mean that cannabis shops still use a lot of cash, which of course can create some problems.
Yeah, Jim, Latoya, good evening. So there are some local and state banks helping handle all this cannabis cash coming through. Because remember, it's a nearly $1 billion industry here in Nevada. But business owners are telling me until these federal banking restrictions are changed, dangers remain, burdens remain. Think about the criminal activity and potential of things like robbery with all this cash. So there is finally some federal legislation on its way to help address it.
Right now, legitimate cannabis businesses all over Nevada are hurting because they can't access traditional banking.
Nevada Senator Cortez Masto speaking during a Senate Banking Committee hearing, pushing for the passage of the Safe Banking Act.
The number one thing I heard from so many of our businesses is if you ask them, most of their overhead is for security because they have all cash.
Just reintroduced in the Senate with strong bipartisan support. 39 other senators now signed on. Similar versions of the bill previously passing out of the House 7 times.
Historically, we have been a very cash-heavy business. Currently without the use of credit cards, that kind of exacerbates the issue a little bit.
Mitch Britton with Thrive Cannabis Marketplace. He says a handful of Nevada banks now do cannabis business. So for him, the issue not as difficult as prior years, but he still welcomes the federal support because as industry advocates point out, it can still be costly.
State banks taking the risk, those dollars that come from those businesses aren't always federally insured. So because they're taking the risk, they usually will charge an interest on the risk that they're taking.
Right now, cannabis is still a Schedule I drug on the national level, and the Safe Banking Act would offer financial protections since federal institutions can face prosecution for dealing with cannabis businesses.
I think what we're seeing today is there's a little bit more of an appetite to handle some of these things at the federal level. It's a good indicator that we're starting to get a little bit of traction, and hopefully some larger reforms will be ahead.
Now, Senator Cortez Masto feels that the tides are finally changing on the national level to finally get this bill through, and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer made recent statements agreeing as much. But cannabis industry leaders and business owners and advocates say this is just one step in the process. Those reforms that you just heard mentioned, they want to address the next hurdles being burdensome tax rates, they say, and cannabis remaining a Schedule I drug, which leads to continued criminalization.
The grasshoppers are back.
Yeah, a lot of us remember the summer of 2019. Remember that pre-pandemic?
Look at this
when
video.
this grasshopper invasion was just crunching on them all over the sidewalks and everything.
Yeah, News 3's Ophelia Young joining us now with this flashback to the past. She's also been speaking with an expert. So are there grasshoppers where you are standing now?
No, Marie, and that is the reason why I am here nice and safe behind these walls. I'll tell you, I like these environmental stories, but if a grasshopper were to interrupt my live shot, that would likely bring out some off-color behavior in me. So for the sake of keeping my job, I'm going to stay right here in our backyard. But yeah, I have been told that grasshoppers are prolific here downtown outside of these walls. I'm also told there are a lot in the South Valley and the Northwest, where this viewer sent me this video from a parking lot turned into a sea of grasshoppers. I asked the state entomologist today why they've come back. He said the wet winter has produced a lot of food for them, so they are alive, healthy, and strong in numbers, but they are still hungry.
The most likely cause of all this is that the rangelands are drying up. And their food supply is diminishing, so they start moving. So they're just out moving along, trying to find more food.
Some of you may remember the 2019 invasion where the flying insects plastered sidewalks and the walls of our casinos. And might be wondering, will this happen again? Jeff Knight says it depends on the weather. If the days get hot, they'll die off faster. But if it's too cold, they'll stick around and more may arrive. But if we get some normal weather, they should be out of here in 3 weeks. Until then, if you have a somewhat irrational fear of grasshoppers like I do, here are some tips. The lights around your home, you'll want to change them out to warmer lights with less UV. so grasshoppers aren't as attracted to them. Also turn them off at night. You'll also want to shut your curtains at night when you have the lights on inside of the house, and that'll encourage those grasshoppers to go somewhere else. Also, if you have EDC plans this weekend, so do the grasshoppers.
Lesson you can learn here: a crime trend netting billions of dollars worldwide just hit a Las Vegas church.
We're talking about gift card fraud here. News 3's Kalia Patterson explains how scammers took advantage of people who wanted to help.
Yeah, these scammers took advantage of the giving spirit from some of the members here at the Faith Community Lutheran Church, and to the point that they stole thousands of dollars from these people over Mother's Day weekend. Scammers going too far.
I felt sick, it's sad.
Over Mother's Day weekend, scammers targeted Faith Community Lutheran Church for thousands of dollars.
My phone started blowing up last Friday afternoon. Phone calls, text messages, emails, and it was a very sophisticated scam.
Scammers sent emails to members of the congregation. The email address was similar to Pastor Craig Michelson's, telling members they were collecting gift cards for members suffering from breast cancer.
I have to say it was some, some personal language, and then a request that would not typically come from Pastor Craig, but helping support people in need is definitely a request that we would receive within our church and our boards.
Mary Madden, a member of the church's board, says she received an email and knew something wasn't right.
I was able to contact Pastor Craig in a different way and say, hey, this seems a little odd. I assume that this isn't you, but are you asking me for a favor? And he was able to tell me, no, it's not me.
But not everyone was quick to verify. Pastor Craig said older church members gave thousands of dollars to scammers.
What the scammers were doing was they were asking people to go buy gift cards, and different people were asked to buy different gift cards. And then they were to scratch off the security code on the back, and then photograph both sides of the card, and then send that supposedly to me.
And Officer Robert Wicks with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police says that money is long gone.
It's almost impossible to track who used it, where it went, what they bought with it, because these people aren't just here in Nevada. The criminals are worldwide.
These leaving members of this church embarrassed, but Pastor Craig says it speaks to something larger.
I think it also says something about our members, that they love our church, they care about our church, they care about other people.
Moving forward, Pastor Craig says that the church will be educating the congregation on computer literacy, and next week they will have high schoolers come to the church to teach seniors there on how to spot scams. Live in Summerlin, Kalia Patterson, News 3.
Kalia, thank you. We appreciate them sharing their stories so we can all learn something from it.
Just click below and subscribe to News 3. You'll get more stories that affect your community.